Welcome back. In this session, we'll discuss about some basic terms that we will be using in networking. The first one is the Internet Service Provider or the ISP. So ISP is nothing but the companies that provide us internet connection. So let it be this AT&T, Xfinity, Airtel or whatever. So they are the ones who are giving us internet connection, right? So we call them as Internet Service Provider. That's all. Okay, the next one is the MAC address or the Media Access Control Address. MAC address is nothing but the physical address of a device. So each and every one of us in this world will have a unique identification, right? Let it be our government ID card. So each and every one will have a unique identification. So same as that, each and every device in this world will have a unique identification, which is called the MAC address. MAC address is actually given to each and every device by the vendor, that is a manufacturer. So what they will do is, while they are manufacturing the device itself, they will give a identification for that, which is the MAC address. So MAC address will somewhat look like this. It will totally have 12 digit, which is in hexadecimal format, in which the first 6 will represent the manufacturer. It can be Intel. If it's a networking device, it can be Cisco or whatever, and the final 6 will represent our device specific number. So this is how a MAC address will look like. Okay, so MAC address is used to connect a device locally. So as we saw before itself, let's say we are using a switch will identify each and every device based on its MAC address. So MAC address is used to connect device locally, that is a local area network. Okay, so this is nothing but a NIC card. So the manufacturer, while they are manufacturing a device itself, they will print the MAC address because it's not going to change, right? So they will print it in the NIC card directly. So MAC address can be changed only if we wish. If not, MAC address will never change. MAC address will remain the same. So just take out your NIC card and you can check out your MAC address physically itself. Or the other way by which you can know your MAC address is by, you can get into command prompt and type ipconfig *all. The parameter is all. So when you do this, this will be your MAC address, which is the physical address is nothing but your MAC address. Or you have a separate command for MAC address itself, which is getMAC. So just type getMAC and this will be your device MAC address. Okay, the next one is the IP address. So what's the difference between IP address and a MAC address? So IP address is used to connect devices globally, that is using the internet connection, but MAC address is used to connect devices locally, which is a local area network. IP address will always change, but MAC address will never change. IP address can change or it can be the same also, but MAC address will be the same. Okay. So because IP address is actually given to you by your internet service provider, let it be this Airtel or whatever, they are the ones who are providing you internet connection, so they can change it. Okay, I'll explain this with a small example. Okay, let's consider here is a huge building and you are here. Okay, you are here and your friend is this side. Okay, so now you cannot directly interact with this person because consider you cannot directly interact with this person because of this building, but there is a person who is on top of this building who can see you also and he can see your friend also, right? So this person is called the internet service provider, ISP. So let's consider this person is me. Okay, this is you, this is your friend, and this internet service provider is me. Okay, so what I will do is I will throw a rope to you. I'll throw a rope to you and I'll get your information, let it be file or whatever. I'll get your information, I'll take that and deliver it to the friend who you want to convey the information. So this is how internet itself works. So this rope is nothing but the IP address. Okay, so I'm on the top of the building, right? So today I can give you a rope. Tomorrow I have many ropes, that is I have many IP address. So today I will give you a rope, tomorrow I'll give you some other rope. That is my wish, right? So let's say today you came, right? You went back to your home. Let's say some other person is coming. Okay, some other person is coming to this location. So today I can give the rope which I gave you yesterday, right? I can give that rope to this person, or I can give some other rope also, which can be random. Let's say you are also coming. The next day you are also coming. So today I will give you some other rope because I have many ropes, that is I have many IP. So this is how IP address works, because internet service provider is giving you IP address, so it can change, but MAC address will not change, because while it is manufactured itself, a MAC address will be defined. Okay. Okay, so IP address in your device can be changed on your location. So most probably with the help of IP address, we can identify a location itself. That is, one area itself will be having a similar IP address based on, let's say some websites will be blocked for some countries around, right, because of IP address. Because one entire country itself can be, we can sort a country based on its IP address. So that is how it works. So okay, based on its location, IP address is given to you by your internet service provider, let it be Airtel or whatever. It can vary each time you connect to the internet. Okay, so what is, we have two versions in it. So IPv4 is nothing but the IP version 4, and the other one is IPv6, which is IP version 6. So what is the difference? First, in the year 1980, IPv4 was, that is in somewhere in 1983 actually, IPv4 was introduced. So while they introduced, they designed it to connect 4.32 bits. It had 32 bits. So with this, they were able to connect 4.3 billion devices. That is 4.3 billion IP addresses. So in that year, in that decade, actually, there were not many computers, or there were not many laptops, or no smartphones at all at that time. So at that time, they thought, okay, these many IP addresses are enough. But nowadays, what happened? Even kids are using mobile phones, so even they will have a IP address, right? So what nowadays each and every person also, let's say myself, I'll be having an official number, I'll be having a personal number, I'll be having an official laptop, I'll be having a personal laptop. So each and every person in this world is having some 3 or 4 devices, so they will need more IP address, right? So what happened now is, they came up with a concept called IPv6, which can connect these many devices. In 1980, they came up with the IPv4, which is 32-bit, which can connect only 4.3 billion devices. But now, after discovering this IPv6, we can connect like trillions of trillions. Even for many more generations, this IPv6 itself is enough. So the basic concept of IPv4 and 6 is, IPv4 had only few, that is, it had only 4.3 billion IP addresses. So it was not able to connect many devices. So they came up with IPv6, which can connect many devices. That is the basic difference between IPv4 and IPv6. Okay, so before that, there is something called as static IP and dynamic IP. So static IP address is nothing but reserving an IP. Let's say I have an IP address 192.168 and 1.10. So this is my IP address today. So static IP address is nothing but reserving an IP. Let's say I want that 10, I can get into control panel and I can reserve that IP address. So every time I connect to the internet, I will always get that 10 alone. So this is static IP address. Dynamic IP address is something which is randomly as in today I can get 10, tomorrow I can get some other number or whatever. So that's the difference between static and IP. So what's the drawback in this static IP? So the drawback here is, let's say I have already reserved, that is statically I reserved number 10 for me. So what, some other person has entered the network, or someone else has come to my home. So what happened is, DHCP, we will be discussing about this DHCP also. So what happened is, he got that 10 before me, he got that 10. Two people cannot have the same IP, right? So now I want 10 only. I'm also asking for 10 IP address. So until he disconnects that device, I will not be able to enter the internet connection. So that's the drawback between static and static IP. But static IP will be used in many companies to know the data. So that's a different concept. So this is the difference between a static IP and a dynamic IP. Okay, so now how to see your IP address? Just go to the control panel and type ipconfig. So when you type this, so this IPv4 address is your version 4 IP address, and this is your IPv6 address. Just type ipconfig and you can see this. Okay, the next one is the domain name server, DNS. DNS server is something which translates each and everything, each domain to an IP address. Devices, each and every devices will communicate with the IP address. but we cannot know the IP address. Let's say, see, here is an IP address, right? 142.250. This is the IP address of google.com. You can actually, you will go to your browser and type www.google.com, right? In the same place, just type this number alone and hit enter. You will enter into google.com. So this is the IP address of google.com, but we cannot remember this, right? Every time we cannot. So same as this, Amazon will have a IP address, Facebook will have an IP address. So each and every site will have a specific IP address, but we cannot remember each and everything. So this DNS server will translate this domain name. We know that we can remember google.com, amazon.com, facebook.com, and whatever. So the DNS server, the main purpose of this DNS server is to translate this domain name, that is google.com, into an IP address. So that's all, simple. So domain name is the phone book. So it's like a phone book. We cannot remember each and every number, right? We only save the numbers with the name so that we can make a call or whatever. It's like a phone book of the internet. DNS translate domain names into IP address so browsers can load. So this is an example. So that's all. DNS is to translate a domain name into an IP address. Simple. That's all. Okay, then what is a gateway? Gateway, okay. Okay, consider this as a gate. Okay, this is our house. Okay, this is our house. So we want to go out. We want to go out somewhere. So first thing we have to do is we have to cross this gate, right? We will cross this gate. We'll go somewhere out. We can go somewhere out like this, and again we have to get in. So again, when we get into our house, we have to cross this gate, and only we can come in, right? So that is the basic concept of a gateway. This is a gate and the gateway simply. So gateway is nothing but our router. So let's say we are connecting our laptop to the router, that is our Wi-Fi router. So what happens is, let's say you are sending an information, that is you are sending a file or whatever. First that file will enter the router, right? It will enter the router, and only then it will go wherever it wants to go while we are connecting to the internet. So same as that, if some other person is sending an information, first it will reach your router and only then it will come to you, right? So this particular router is called as the gateway because it acts like it's a gate for the network. That's all. So default gateway connects the local network to the internet connection, and it acts like a gate to enter the internet. That's all. Okay, so how to find your default gateway? Just type the same command, just type ipconfig, and this will be your default gateway. Most probably in many systems will have this 192.168.1.1. Okay, next, what is this? DHCP server. DHCP server is something which assigns the IP address randomly. We already spoke about that, right? That is, today I can get an IP address, tomorrow I can get some other IP address. So this DHCP, that is this dynamic host configuration protocol, is something which assigns that IP address. Today I am getting IP address .10, tomorrow I'll get 11 or whatever. So this the main purpose of this DHCP server is to assign. So simple, that's all, is to assign an IP address or whatever. So if we are in a static connection, there is no work for this DHCP. When we are in a dynamic connection, this DHCP is something which assigns. That's all. So dynamically assigns IP address and the other info like router address, okay, to all the end devices. As we know before itself, end devices is the cell phones, laptops, or whatever. Okay, the next one is the ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol. So ICMP is nothing but, the main purpose of this ICMP is nothing but error reporting. Let's say we are sending a message. Okay, let's say we are sending a message to some other person. So how will we be sure if that message has reached that particular person or not? We cannot be sure, right? So this ICMP is something which reports error. Let's say while your message is traveling, that is when it transfers through many hops, somewhere there is a problem and the message has not reached that particular person. Then it will report you an error, right? With that error, you will know that the message is properly not sent, so you will resend it. So without this ICMP, we will not be sure if the packets that we are sending reaches the destination or not. So the basic concept is error reporting. It will tell you if the transaction is successful or not. That's all. Primary purpose of ICMP is for error reporting. Yeah, okay. So that's all, simple. So the next one is data units. This is a simple concept which every one of us will know, but even then that is network. In a network, packets will most probably transfer in bytes. So we have to know about this bytes and the other units also. So a byte is nothing but, so okay, 1024 bytes is 1 kilobyte, right? So same as that, 1024 kilobyte makes 1 megabyte or whatever. So a byte is nothing but a character. So I'll explain that with a small example. Okay, let me open a text document. Let me type my name. Byte is nothing but a character. So this Joshua has 6 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the size of this file should be 6 bytes. I'll save this. Now I'll get into properties. So the size here is 6 bytes, that's all. So each and every character is a byte. Even the space will be counted. Let's add a space now. I've added a space. Now it should be 7 bytes because of a space. Let's check it now. Yeah, now it is 7 bytes. Okay, so same as that, if we type 1024 characters somewhat randomly like that, it will show us exactly it is 1 kilobyte because 1024 bytes makes 1 kilobyte. I've already saved a document like that. I have typed something randomly which has exactly 1024 kilobytes, which is 1024 bytes, which is characters. So now it tells me, okay, it has 1023 bytes now. It didn't tell me that it has 1 kilobyte. It tells me now it has 1023 bytes. That's all right. So now let me add only one character to it. I'm just adding one character to it. Let me save this again. Now it will tell me it is 1 kilobyte. Let's check it. Yeah, now it tells me 1 kilobyte. Until 1023 characters, it said me it's 1023 bytes. So this is the difference. 1024 bytes, that is 1024 characters will make 1 kilobyte.